my name is Irene Arias and I'm doing the mock interview. The first question: explain how you plan to support other content areas and interdisciplinary skills specifically related to literacy, communication, and/or technology during your content area instruction. Provide at least 2 specific examples and discuss how each encourages higher order questioning and stimulates discussion. As a future math teacher, I want my students to be able to do more than just solve problems. I would like for them to be able to explain their thinking and communicate their ideas. After solving a problem, for example, students could speak with their shoulder partners about the steps that they took to solve it, or even write a paragraph of explanation. In math, we would call this reasoning. This will help with their communication skills and their overall development of mathematics. I also plan to use technology to help my students understand math concepts. For example, students could use a graphing calculator to see how an equation will relate to its graph, and also how an equation changing will also change its graph. For example, I could also ask questions like, what do you think will happen if we change this? Or why did that graph change? And then it'll encourage their critical thinking as well as their communication, because they'll be able to explain why things are changing and why things are happening with myself and with their peers. For question number 2, describe accommodations that are appropriate for use in your content areas during summative and formative assessments to meet the needs of all students with varying backgrounds and abilities. I will personally make sure that all of my assessments meet the needs of the different learners in my classroom while still maintaining high expectations, as that is one of my priorities. Some accommodations may include more time allotted to take the test, clearer directions, visual examples of the problem being presented, a formula sheet when appropriate for the test, and if the students know how to properly use them, we would go over that in class and of how to go through a formula sheet, and some vocabulary support for the English language learners. Just because you don't know a language doesn't mean you don't know the math itself, so I would have that vocabulary support as an aid for them throughout their test. For formative assessments, I can use things like whiteboards, exit tickets, and technology support to see what students are grasping in a timely manner. If I notice that a student is struggling with a concept, I can either do a reteach if I notice it's more than one, or provide additional support before moving on to the next lesson. We obviously want to make sure that everyone has the best chance of succeeding. For question number 3, discuss how you plan to analyze the effectiveness of your classroom instruction. Describe how you will use your analysis to guide instruction during the lesson and for future planning. When analyzing my instruction, I will look at my students' work, commonly asked questions, discussions, and assessments to see what they're grasping from each concept. If I do an exit ticket, for example, and multiple students get the same question wrong, I know that I need to go back and reteach that concept differently. I can also use this information to adjust my teaching. I might slow down, add another problem, break into small groups, or provide more challenging problems for the students that have already mastered the skills. I think it's important to reflect on my teaching because my teaching and lecturing should be based on what my students need. For question number 4, discuss a few strategies you have used or plan to use to teach higher order thinking skills in your classroom. I plan to teach higher order thinking by providing my students with problems that need to be explained and justified instead of just following steps. For example, I would give them a problem that has multiple ways of being solved and have them pick what's best. After that, I would ask, how do you know? Or can you find another way? And then I might change a part of the problem and say, how about now? What do you think works best for this? This will help promote critical thinking and also create problem solvers within a classroom. For my 5th and final question, explain how you will ensure a student with low academic ability can succeed in your content area classroom. First and foremost, I believe every student can succeed in math with the right support and encouragement. I would begin by breaking problems down into smaller, more manageable steps as to be less overwhelming, and provide multiple examples before asking any student to work independently. Then, I would go into small group instruction or one-on-one time when possible. That'll help build up confidence and understanding of concepts. I would also check back for understanding regularly using formative assessments like whiteboards and exit tickets, so that if there's any misunderstandings, I can go ahead and address it right away. If a student is struggling, I will adjust my teaching and then provide different teaching strategies to meet the needs of those students. My goal is that students feel supported, capable, and confident in their ability to learn mathematics. That is the whole reason I'm getting into this profession. Thank you so much for taking the time to interview me today. I hope you'll consider me for the math teacher position at your school.